Welcome to our new episode, Chairside Intelligence. In today's episode, we delve into one of the most transformative forces impacting modern dentistry, artificial intelligence. From early diagnostic and treatment planning to personalized care and streamlined clinical workflows, AI is redefining how we practice, learn, and care for our patients. But rather than replacing the human touch, these technologies are enhancing our precision, elevating efficiency, and expanding what's possible in the dental chair. I am honored to be joined today by a visionary in this field, Dr. David Moin. Based in the Netherlands, Dr. Moin is a highly respected clinician and innovator. He co-founded Tandheelkundig Centrum Altman, I'm sorry, David, in 2009, a leading multidisciplinary center focused on comprehensive oral rehabilitation. Between 2010 and 2016, he served as a clinical researcher in implantology and periodontology at the Academic Center for Dentistry, Amsterdam. In 2017, Dr. Moin co-founded Promaton, where he currently serves as a chief medical officer. In collaboration with Stroman, he leads a team of engineers and scientists developing cutting-edge AI and cloud-based technologies to advance global dental care. He holds a PhD from the University of Amsterdam, specializing in 3D printed patient-specific implants, and has authored over 30 publications in bone regeneration, oral implantology, peri-implant diseases, and AI in dentistry. His pioneering work includes breakthroughs in automated dental imaging, 3D printed solutions, and AI-driven treatment planning. Dr. Moin, it's a pleasure to have you on my podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Edgar El-Shar. I very much appreciate the invitation. It's a great honor for me.
It's an honor for me too. So I'm going to go over 10 questions, not too complicated. I like it to keep it short and sweet. So you are a co-founder of an AI company. So you are the right person to ask. How do you envision AI reshaping dentistry?
Yes, no, thanks. You, in the introduction, you actually kind of mentioned some key words like efficiency and standardization. And to dive a bit deeper, I think there will be a massive impact specifically on the clinical side of dentistry, with a lot of gains to become from consistency, safety, speed. To give maybe some more tangible impacts we already have delivered today. We see, for instance, for the implant planning workflows, that with our AI tools, we can already tremendously reduce the time spent in the planning software. We have seen gains up to 50, 60, 70% of time reduction. And this is in the treatment planning domain, but then also, of course, in imaging and diagnosis. There's other companies working on reducing, for instance, the diagnostic error. Very familiar with the fact that the diagnostic error rate on 2D images like bite wings or periapical images is really high. So with AI, we can enhance this, improve the error rates. And then coming back to treatment planning, I think also the AI can generate beautiful visualizations, which is a great enhancement from the current workflows. I mean, if you look at the current imaging softwares or treatment planning softwares, you're dealing with all these slices from a CT scan, for instance, and you're trying to convey the message to a patient, but then having a really nicely generated visual, automatically generated, translates in a better, I would say, trust and acceptance of treatment. So these are some of the, let's say, areas where dentistry can
get better.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think it's a very good point you made by saying transforming, because what you hear often is revolutionizing, which to me sounds a bit ad hoc or like a one-time thing. While I see AI more of a transformative power. And
I love that. I love that. I love that because it's not a revolution. A revolution is momentary. Transformation is a long term. And I am a user of your performance, the AI cleaning, and it's just mind-boggling. So there is the human part. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about human part, because we're talking about eliminating jobs like front desk, people answers the phone, the treatment planning and all of these things. What do you think about that?
That's, I think, a fair point to raise. I'm of course biased towards automation and AI, but I also feel that there's some hype around it, fueled by media to maybe, to create fear, to create more attraction to news articles or outlets. So if you effectively look today at how many jobs are actually lost, I'm not sure how much it is. I don't have the figures, to be honest, but I don't think, from my intuition, that it's so much today as it's being proclaimed in the media. But of course, there will be a change that's, I think, imminent. And looking at the elimination of jobs, I would say it's more the task itself that will change than the job.
And that's the word that you said. There is a lot of repetitive and taking away from focusing on their job better. So it's a help, not a. It reminds me a big thing. In 2000, with the Y2K, we lived. I would never forget that night. It was in New Year's, and we all lived in a fear. And God, tomorrow the whole world's gonna collapse. So it's almost the same thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and maybe coming back to the human part, because I think that's a very fair point you mentioned. In my belief, I think because you automate so much of the mundane administrative tasks, there's more room for the more human parts of what makes us human, to be more empathetic towards our clients or to the patient. Or, for instance, you said front desk as an example. If the people at the front desk have more time at hand to be spending together with the patient, taking them to ease them, instead of being busy with only doing their administration as their primary role, or only doing documentation, whatever is necessary in that stage, I think there will be more time for human empathy and relationships, which I think is very important.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. So there's a very interesting point, and I've been talking a lot about it. It is the generational differences. I'm a Gen X. I believe you are the same. And most of us still like the human contact. The baby boomer, the same story. Now, the younger, my children, my coworkers, Gen Zs and millennials, all they know is that phone. I don't have it with me. I have the papers. The wrong example. So are you going to think that we're going to have two different systems, one for the younger and one for, I hate to say it, older, like I'm making myself older, but in a way?
Yeah, that's a very interesting, let's say, the dilemma we're facing. Eventually, I think we will come into an era where it's AI first by design, let's say, and then we enter a more maybe complex workflow or complex service that needs a human in the loop. But I do think we are migrating into an AI first, let's say, system. But I mean, today, I think it should be an offer by choice, where you say there's a digital or AI-driven fast lane for self-service or for chatbots and certain portals. And then there's a human first lane for phone calling, perhaps for people that really cannot work with these digital first lanes, let's say. I mean, I think you have also experienced, I at least have experienced quite a few times that I'm stuck in a chatbot loop trying to get to a person, which is super frustrating. So
Indeed.
That's, I mean, something you don't want to end up in. That can, really damage your reputation or willingness for clients to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think
I agree with you on that.
Dual system, that would be my personal preference, but I do think the driving force of the aging of the population will migrate towards AI first design.
That brings me to the search platforms. And it's funny, two patients that told me they searched ChatGPT were actually not the young ones, were more in the Gen X baby boomer. So what do you think about that? They consulting ChatGPT before coming to the dentist.
Yeah, that's that's a tough question, to be honest. I think there's a lot of value for changing from, let's say, a classical search to an answer or an agent that really not only answers but also does some work to do research or calculate things or draft or take even certain actions or cite sources for you, etc. So I think that's very powerful for a lot of uses. But then, in my opinion, it becomes very tricky when you go deep into a domain and are looking for very domain specific answers. So I think in that sense, for dentistry, for instance, you would ideally need really a domain tuned LLM or ChatGPT or whatever model you're using, built upon the guidelines, the imaging, the workflows that really are within our field of work. That's gonna, I think, help a lot.
Yeah, but you need to have people agreeing, and we know that in dentistry this is not very easy. But it scares me because I had a patient that she been given a whole sequence of treatment that should be done, that ChatGPT told her should be, and it's frightening in my way.
A very, I think, interesting and very relevant case. How do you deal with this as a clinician? I really wonder how to cooperatively work with the patient that comes with such a proposal.
Yeah. She thought this is how ChatGPT told her should be paying and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because this is a new thing that we're going to be facing. And so that was a good thing that to be seen. Yeah, to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the end, also today, and also not in the near future, these LLMs like ChatGPT are not medical devices. They are not working within the regulatory confinements.
Yeah.
And they still hallucinate a lot of information, which is not true unless you have deep domain knowledge, like you as a dentist can really see what is lacking here or missing. So it is in that sense dangerous to use it as clinical guidance today.
Yeah. And unfortunately, if I face two people, that means how many others are basing their choices on such a thing. Yeah. So let's go back to your expertise, data. Data in medicine, data in business, it's gold. We are sitting on a huge amount of data. all the softwares that collects the data. And unfortunately, as dentists, we don't do anything with it. We don't analyze it properly. We don't know what's happening, or how can we use it to enhance our decision. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned data and not per se AI immediately, because it starts with a lot of good data. And the problem, I think, is the foundation we in dentistry operate with from a data perspective. That is, we even, I mean, today are not tracking outcomes, for instance. Mm-hmm. So if there's not even outcome measures being tracked over time in a standardized manner, you're lacking a lot of data, especially if you look at our practice management softwares that we are using today. There's a lot of room for different data, but it's not standardized and tracked well over time, specifically the outcomes not, and then let alone even the satisfaction. So what we are missing is, in a certain sense, this ability to do effective cohort analysis for what works for which patient. And if you really build this data properly, to have clean data models with standardized codes or outcomes, then we can really build a good model, I would say, that can predict outcomes or review risks, etc. So I think it starts, as you mentioned, with data. There is a lot of data, but it's unstructured and not clean at today's way of work.
I need to make it clear for the listeners what you're saying, because when we had a built healthcare reform in the United States, so they were based on how to analyze the data for the outcome of the patients. They're better pay for the provider if they have a better outcome, better survey, and so on and so forth. So actually, your friend that introduced me to you, Mikael, he brought it up to me. He said, how do you know that your patients are happy with the treatment? And it's funny, it daunted to me that I've never asked my patients. I look at the x-ray, I'm very proud of myself, and I never asked them, how do they feel? How does it, if you are more confident, and so on and so forth. And that's what people are not understanding, the data, how important it is. So that's why I wanted to dive deeper about it with you. That's why.
Yes, that's an excellent point, like satisfaction. But I think that's even a step further. I mean, today, when you look at dentistry, I'm not sure how this is in the US, but let's say for Europe, I know there's almost no dentist, exceptions there are, of course, that tracks the outcomes of certain treatments. Like, I made a filling today. How does it look in a year? Mm-hmm. How does it look in 2 years? And then in a standardized manner, keep track of the performance of the filling, let's say. This is rarely done in dentistry.
If at all.
If at all, I don't think so. I mean, only when something goes wrong, you note something, or you do a remake. But there's a very lot of lack of. So there's this conception, I would say, that data is gold, which is, I mean, in essence true. But then it requires a lot of insights on what kind of data, how it's structured, and what is exactly measured over time, which is not the case. I mean,
but that's where probably AI can be helpful.
I think AI can be helpful if you have the right data.
Yeah.
Basically. So you need to focus on getting the right data first.
Yeah. But our softwares do not allow to put my implant failed, or I have a code to redo, for instance. So this is where it starts. Only the caregivers you KPIs for how much money you're making, or that's the sort of things. But so we talked about that. Let's get to the. Before I talk about adoption in dentistry, one more thing is, what do you think about the robotics navigation in dentistry, since you are an expert in implant dentistry?
Yes, I do think robotics will gain momentum at a certain point in time. There's a lot of mechanical challenges. I mean, our field of work is so complicated with a moving patient, varying biology. So to automate, let's say, the filling of a tooth, which seems like a very straightforward process, is going to be very difficult for a robot at this stage. But I do think there is an understanding that at a certain point in time, this will happen by robots. So I do think robots will. I mean, today there are robots that can automatically place implants in patients, but placing the implant is, from a biomechanical perspective, relatively more straightforward than doing a filling, because filling requires so many complex mechanical interactions
and steps.
Yeah, so there will be a shift, but the question also is, by the time, perhaps, because I see a strong also movement in the biotechnology field. I mean, by the time we have robots that can do automatic filling really well without any interaction of a human, there might be even already vaccines, let's say, for cavities or certain dental diseases.
Correct.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah. We are fighting a different war, which is not a bad thing, because I don't know if I told you, but I wrote a commentary about the aging population.
Yes,
it's actually they're going to need more treatment, so it's not a bad thing to avoid cavities for elderly persons. Yeah. So that brings me to almost two before last point: adoption challenges in dentistry. Dentists skeptical, late adapter, famous. The digital started really after COVID, although it was still for a long time. So what do you think about the adoption?
Yeah, that's a good point. Dentistry and I think medical fields, but specifically dentistry, somehow has this image of being a very conservative, slow adapting market. But in some ways it's ambiguous, because I mean, on the one hand, we are, I think, as a domain, quite innovative and fast to adapt new technologies. I mean, look at, for instance, intraoral scanning and all the digital imaging modalities we use. This is a very advanced technology we have implemented quite widely in the dental field, as opposed to other medical fields, perhaps. But then on the other hand, there is, of course, also you're dealing with patient safety, and you have to be very sure that things are not harming patients. So in that sense, I think it's also good that there's a certain amount of caution in adopting too fast new technologies, while patient safety and liability, etc., is all at risk potentially.
So it's not a bad thing.
So it's not per se a bad thing. I think there's two sides to the coin in that sense.
Okay, good.
I think it's a healthy skepticism in that sense.
Okay, it's a nice way of putting it.
Healthy skepticism, for patient safety, I would say. Yeah.
But I never thought about it this way. But kudos to you. So, we have practicing dentists, and we have people who want to be a dentist. Okay. So what's the advice for each?
Well, Well, let's say for those who aspire to become dentists, for the new generation of dentists, I think it's, yeah, yeah, it starts, in my opinion, from a mindset, try to be very curious and adaptive to new changing environments. Try to really embrace change and be part of it, ideally. You don't want to end up being someone that resists all the change and yeah, be left alone, let's say, in a dark corner doing some old school stuff. So I would say, in that sense, master the fundamentals first, the biology, the biomechanics, biochemistry, because AI in the end is an force multiplier. It's not a substitute of your knowledge. So if you have a fundamental understanding of the biology, this can really, yeah, be enhanced with AI in the end. And I think what's today lacking in the curriculums of dental schools is statistics, advanced statistics, physics of imaging, and deeper knowledge of digital workflow. So I think it would be very helpful for people for aspiring dentists to learn the essentials around data, basically be data literate.
But this is exactly, it should start from the school.
Yes, exactly.
Teaching them about data interpretation and outcomes. Yeah. So what's next for you?
No, well, you also ask about practicing dentists.
Yes.
Maybe to provide my view on this, just very shortly, I think it's very helpful to just pick one existing workflow that you're today doing very often, and then measure your baseline and remeasure the process you're doing, and then basically start getting the data in order, start doing consistently charting, etc., and invest in one workflow and see how it affects your outcome, or affects your time, or measure your outcomes, and then you can really see how a workflow can be transformed. So I would say start with one workflow. Don't try to really change the whole clinic operation. It's going to be, I think, too intense. Just start with one workflow and measure, basically, and implement one.
Goes back to
AI.
the outcomes.
Yeah.
Goes back to outcomes. Check your outcomes, and so changing mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we close, what's your future? I'm curious.
Yeah, my future. I think there's a lot of challenges in dentistry still. It's as we discussed, a transformation process, which will take decades in the end. And what I see as a big challenge myself, I think the interoperability that we are facing today is a big limitation. I mean, there are so many systems we're using: CBST, iOS, PMS, lab software, whatever there is out there, tens of different softwares, and they're all stuck in their own silos. The data is very difficult to migrate between, or shared between all these different devices or softwares. So I think that's a challenge which interests me personally, because I felt the pain myself many times, that the data cannot easily be shared across these things. And then, of course, there's a lot of different clinical domains that can benefit from AI. So I might maybe look into that. So I don't have a strong direction for today.
Actually, I have a project for you. I will talk to you offline. But I want to second exactly what you're saying. I have 2 locations. So if somebody takes a CBCT uptown and he wants to be seen, or she wants to be seen on Midtown, we are doubling the data instead of being able to have it on cloud. And that's where we are so behind versus the medicine. Medicine, everything is, you can change doctors and they can have access to your charts and all your x-rays. We don't have that.
So, ideally, somehow dentistry is left out of this electronic patient record system which is centralized. In many countries, there's a centralized electronic patient record system. And somehow dentistry is always being left out of this, which complicates things a lot. So ideally, we would be part of this entire data sharing standard across different medical domains. I think that would help. Would help out a lot for sure.
Yeah. But we go back to the same thing you said. Either you think in silo, or you think on expanding. And if you are one practice, one place, it doesn't really affect you. But the future is not anymore one place or owning your own. It's a multi. So something to think about. So with that, I want to thank you for sharing your insights. We delayed you today, so thank you so much for being kind and flexible. Your vision and your leadership in the intersection of dentistry, artificial intelligence have been very insightful, at least for me, from meeting you when you were still promoting your system, and as a user of your system, just that they know in co-diagnostic, David has made something extraordinary. It cut us our time to prepare the scan almost to 2 minutes without us doing it, and precision went way high up. So thank you for that as a user. And also to talking to us about the transformative, not as a revolution, as you mentioned it. I love that. So I want to tell the listeners, stay curious, stay open, and stay engaged in the evolution. There's more to come, and nobody will replace us as a human. It's actually accelerate ourselves, as you mentioned, to give them more time to be empathetic and committed to the healthcare. And with that, thank you so much. And for the listener, thank you for listening to my podcast. And until next time, keep thinking beyond the chair. Thanks.